Welcome back, believers. I'm honored again to bring you another video. And today's video will be titled, "It Will Cost You Greatly to Be a Disciple." So I felt led to making this video for many reasons, like I mentioned in these videos, as you guys have taken note of. But more in particular is because, one, I'm feeling that cost every day. And I just wanted to share this because as believers, a lot of times we don't factor in the cost, but all throughout the word and even how Jesus and his ministry was about entails this. So I'm going to reference Luke 14 verses 25 through 33 to help share some more context on what this video will be about. So as it reads, and this is Jesus sharing this message. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost?" Some versions say house. Consider the cost. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, "The person began to build and wasn't able to finish." Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation, while the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you cannot be my disciple. So there's a lot of nuggets and insights in this, but as you see, this is a perfect reference. And I can relate firsthand because, like, for instance, the past, you could say 2 years, the past 2 years minus a few months, within those 2 years, my wife and I have been in the process of building a house, making the plans for the house, designing it, finding all the subcontractors and contractors and all the necessary parties to get it done. And to the grace of God, it was completed about a little under maybe 7 months or so ago, maybe 8 months. Yeah, because we also had to get additional renovations because a lot of reasons. But I'm going to go into how first we were just making a decent living, both of us, and we were approved for a certain amount. And it wasn't like a flying colors amount to allow us to really have a flexible budget, but we did the calculations and figured out how much our payment would be and all this and all the other information that pertains to that. And it is a long, kind of lengthy process, but I'm just trying to summarize it for you guys to just land the point. So we ended up, fixing our credit, paying debt off and all that to qualify. We ended up qualifying. And once we were qualified, we began to work on the drawings, work on all the things that we need to build the house that we were wanting to build. And before that, we couldn't find something that was already on the market that we could just buy and move right into, because for a lot of reasons, like we felt like just the stuff that they're putting on the market now just isn't suffice, and it isn't quality, and they shortcut a lot of things in regards to the build process that um, you basically have to kind of pay for and um, kind of go without if you're looking for something that's already built. I'm not saying that's the entire case, but that's a lot of the case now more than ever. But just fast forwarding, we got into just a situation with our general contractor, and basically it became a bad situation, and we were left with the decision to either fire him and move on, but due to our general contractor being family, that made it more complicated. And we seen the writing on the wall before this happened, but we were optimistic, right? Like many of us, and that's why God is wanting us to have discernment, come to Him first, and let the Holy Spirit reveal to us. But we were like, man, we can save, keep it in the family, and continue to use this as a starter project for all the other stuff, because we were planning to build other homes and things of that nature from a business standpoint. But we thought the deal was gonna go linear. We got approved for a certain amount. We got we got most of the numbers to add up, and then once we got into the process, we ended up really not having it. Or you have to have your own money, right? When you get a loan from the bank, when you're building, you have to basically, or the general contractor usually puts his own money up to complete the house, and then the bank reimbursed the general contractor. So in this case, our general contractor didn't have the money to even get to a lot of times he didn't have the money to get to the draw, so we had to intervene, and wanting to help the process and save time, we ended up putting our own money that we were saving up from our jobs and stuff to put, and even credit cards. And all that to be said, that kind of put us in a hole for a lot of reasons, and caused us to, be unhoused and living with others, and even having to do some stuff within the build ourselves to kind of keep it moving, because of just the poor management, and the lack of resources and finances, and several other things. But I just share that because in that process, my wife and I, we felt the cost monetarily, but physically and spiritually. And we were so hopeful that, yeah, we can risk it all with, using the money from our jobs, and, using our credit, and thinking that it would, even if like our bill is high, we can find jobs, we can make money. But we over leveraged ourselves, and just like how the word is saying, who wants to build but won't first sit down and figure out what the cost is, so to realize you have enough money to complete it. We knew it was already going to be a tight window, or at first we didn't fully know, but then we realized, like, even with making the payments, it was going to be tough. But we thought that we can kind of take that risk, and God ended up allowing all this to happen so that we could, one, learn from our mistakes, but also just see Him in our whole situation, so that moving forward, we can have wisdom, discernment, perseverance, endurance, and just common sense to a degree to make decisions accordingly. And just going through that process, it was like a lot of shame, like having to live with people, in the sense of, like, I don't know, it was just humbling, because we never expected a lot of the stuff that happened. But and then our house, sitting, there were several months in that process, or a few months in that process, where we couldn't like move on to the next phase. So our house was just kind of just sitting there, and our house, for context, was in a established community where we were the only house that was being built at the time, and along with another house, but that house was moving accordingly. Um, but our house, was sitting there. The grass was growing, and we were getting HOA messages about what's going on. And I can just speak for myself. It just felt embarrassing, just from outside looking in, or just from how I would operate or do things. And it was just very eye-opening and convicting, but it allowed me to just grow deeper. I would say the same for my wife, grow deeper in our relationship with Christ, because even when our house technically got finished, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't finished. And if it wasn't for God's grace of allowing us to find other contractors to help us finish the job, and then we already came to the conclusion that we would need to sell our home after those renovations happened. And we never anticipated, I guess, that time frame. We thought we were probably going to stay in it for 5 years or whatever the case is. But God quickly showed us like what he wanted us to do, and it was gut checking. But all that to be said was that ended up being let go from my job. My wife ended up leaving her job because of just being burnt out in the midst of this process, and the bills are still coming, and I tried to prevent this, myself personally, with trying to apply to different jobs, or start several businesses, or have different create different partnerships within real estate, or et cetera, with paying. All those things kind of just fell through, and I was like, man, I think we're just gonna approach those murky waters in regards to like having to stomach and deal with the financial repercussions of our decisions. And that very much has happened, and we're still working our way out, but God is allowing us to just get through it. But all that to be said is it's taking endurance. It's taking much out of me that I never thought of, and it's almost this sacrifice, but it's also this like counting the cost, because walking with God, like, it was so easy where I could have been like, all right, I'm just gonna cut corners, or I'm gonna just do something unethical to bring in the money we need, or whatever the case is. But having the heart of God, having the heart for God, and realizing how that is more important than just having my bills paid, or having just comfort in this life, that allowed me to come to the point of, wow, there's a cost that's not just financially, but there's a cost of being ridiculed, or being rejected, or being looked down upon, or whatever the case is, or just certain opportunities not opening up because of the values and God's hand being on your life, and his protection being on your life in regards to how he wants you to move, or what opportunities he wants you to have. And it's tough, because you could easily look left and right and be like, man, I know for myself, I'll look left and right and say, man, my neighbors, they seem established, man. They seem like they don't have any worries in the world. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Like, just in your everyday out and about endeavors, right? You're like, man, all these people seem happy, or man, they seem like they have all this and that and the third. And God is continuing to tell me and show me that don't look left and right in regards to what everybody else has going on. Focus on me and where I have you, and trust me, even though it doesn't feel good. I'm with you. I'm cultivating, I'm developing, I'm transforming, I'm renewing you. And I'm just sharing half of the story. But I wanted to share that sentiment to, encourage you guys that, you guys may be going through a similar season in your life where, and you can even see like the market or the economy or just the political state of the world being in shambles, right? For various reasons that I would say coincide with biblical prophecy. And it's so easy to want to throw in the towel or feel like you're living in vain, but not knowing that God ultimately is using everything or leveraging everything in our lives for his glory, even though we're like, this doesn't seem like I'm on the right track or whatever the case is, because maybe you're like, I went to school and got my degree and I'm still not doing whatever. All these different worldly constructs or our own logic that we try to put on ourselves, not realizing that whatever God allows is for his reasoning and purpose, but he will use it to strengthen us. But we have to first realize that there's a cost with walking with God and walking with Christ that is not free. And when I say it's not free is because persecution will happen spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. There'll be slow seasons, there'll be dry seasons, there'll be several different type of seasons. But God is after our hearts. He's after our souls and making sure that we're in the right place. So when he returns, we will have that place. We will have our salvation solidified, and we will have that place in heaven and in the kingdom, in which that is the ultimate pursuit, or should be, for that matter, for us as believers. So I want to encourage you guys that though you may be persecuted, though you may be going through many trials and tribulations, God is only using that to allow for us to cry out, to humble ourselves, to redirect ourselves, to look to him for our needs, for our wants, and our desires, and all the things above. Because that will give us fulfillment and peace in the midst of chaos, in the midst of uncertainty. Which that is a lot of the cost, is like the uncertainty of knowing that I don't know how my life is gonna turn out, but I know God is writing my steps and leading my steps in the direction for his will. So we just have to be okay with that versus rejecting and not yielding and wanting to just do our own way, which is going to continue to yield bad results, you know. So just factor that cost, and don't just think monetarily. Factor the cost of knowing that most of the world right now and people of this world, they're not truly living for Christ. So you will be the odd person out in that sense, because you're choosing to live for Christ, to die to yourself daily, and to surrender your life to Christ so that you can be closer to him. Because this world is temporary, like I love to tell people, this world is temporary, and like I love to tell myself, because it's so easy to get caught in the world. It's so easy to just caught in the day-to-day things of, man, I gotta pay bills, man, I gotta make these appearances, or I gotta do XYZ, not knowing that is not the requirement. The requirement is being obedient to what God is calling us to and surrendering ourselves so that we could be used for his glory. So, man, this topic can go, I could talk about this for hours, but I want to just, leave that with you guys so you can think about it, ponder on it, and implement it in your own life, because this is more important than any material thing or earthly thing that you can ever imagine. So I hope this provided value. And until next time, God bless.